Hi everyone, welcome back to Ask Amy. I have a question today from Nicole, and it's a great question that I think is going to highlight some things that probably a lot of us struggle with. I know that I did. So it's a little bit long, but let me read her question um, and take it from there. So Nicole says, "Hi Amy, I appreciate your videos, books, and honest conversation so much. I've been a binge eater for almost 10 years. I have, like many, tried the self-analyzing, memory digging, and the endless perfect mindset diets. You know, the ones that promise this is what you've been missing. This will cure your binging." Oh yes, I know, Nicole. "After reading your books and watching your videos, I've begun to realize that I've been feeling my thinking. Everything from all or nothing thinking to I deserve it because today sucks eating. I love the idea that thoughts move through me and have no inherent power. It makes one problem, not 50, which is awesome to see, Nicole. Like just to glimpse the simplicity in that. Okay, there's one thing going on, not 50 different things we need to solve for. Awesome. So with that being said, I'm still struggling. I've managed to, in the last 2 months of learning your outlook, avoid and resist many urges to binge. I've had situations in foods that used to cause binges seemingly mean absolutely nothing just by realizing it was just a thought and it will pass. I felt empowered. However, I have still slipped up a few times and feel in bondage again. Today, my thoughts were dark. They convinced me I didn't care and this is too hard and not worth it. It was crippling. My question is this just another way of feeling my thoughts? Just a darker, more personal thought? Even after my binge today, I had a few moments of, is it worth it? Who am I if I'm not a binge eater? I'm nearly convinced I enjoy binging. I mean, how else can I get that rush and physical fulfillment? I know you're going to say this is just me feeling my thoughts. Maybe that's what I need to hear. Some days it just feels so personal, which makes giving in makes me feel like such a failure. Again, I appreciate what you do and the message you're spreading. You're such a miracle giver." Very sweet, Nicole. And Nicole, you are so, I know so many people listening out there right now um, are saying, yeah, I've been there. I'm there now, or I've been there, because literally, like me too, so many times. And everyone I've talked with has been in this place where it's like we start to see something and and it feels good, it feels right, it feels helpful, like you say, you 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 hear this after all of this: fix this, change your mindset, do this manipulation, that manipulation, this fix, this is going to cure you. To hear something that just cuts beneath all of that and really speaks to the truth of who we are and how healthy we are by nature, like what's working through us already, that we don't have to try to manage, that totally resonates with people. And it tends to bring this really nice, amazing feeling of kind of coming back home. I mean, hearing something that you recognize, deeply recognize as truth. And that's an amazing thing. And like you said, it has this effect in general of us relaxing and kind of like seeing the bigger picture of things and feeling empowered and having even habitual thoughts and feelings that we've had for a really long time show up but look different. That's insight. I mean, that's what we all, get super excited about. It's like, oh my gosh, yeah, my brain went to the same place that always goes, but I saw it differently. I acted differently, or I felt differently, or I just recognized it, whatever it is. There's a difference, and it's tangible and it's concrete, and we can, we feel it in huge ways. And so of course we kind of look there, and then our mind starts kind of making up, I don't know, expectations, assumptions, rules maybe for how this is going to go. Now that is the most innocent thing in the world. So again, I'm generalizing, but we hear something in this truth, we feel better in some way, we feel hopeful and some relief, and then we relax and our experience around our habit or whatever it is, our anxiety kind of changes a little bit, and our mind jumps in and says, ooh, I'm done, or here's how it's going to be from now on, or I don't think I have this problem anymore, or whatever our mind says. It just likes to come in and kind of fill in the blanks and paint pictures for us. And many times, I mean, that's just part of the process. So I see that all the time. I went through it in huge ways. where there was so much that kind of fell away right away as I started to see more about this understanding. But then I found myself some later worse than before, because my mind had made up all kinds of rules for what that was going to mean. And my mind made those up, but I didn't realize that my mind made them up. So I took them seriously, right? So it's so common that happens. And then it's just like another kind of kink in the chain. Like we kind of see that, and it gives you every setback, every time like this, Nicole, where you were feeling so great and now you're feeling lower than low, is an opportunity for us to see, oh, okay, something I wasn't quite seeing there. Like where can I go even deeper? Like where can I see this even more? So your question, well, first of all, let me say, so you say, however, so you talk about thoughts showing up, urges showing up in a different way, like just looking and feeling different and you acting differently around them. And that felt so empowering, and it does. That's amazing. And that's how a habit changes, is we see things and suddenly our old behaviors just don't make sense anymore. Our old ways of seeing it don't make sense anymore. And so things start to rearrange and we kind of go in a new direction. But that is not a perfect path. So you talk about that having happened, which is amazing. And then you say, however, I've still slipped up a few times and I feel in bondage again. Today my thoughts were dark and they convinced me that I don't care, it's too hard, and it's not worth it. I want you to see if you can kind of get a feel for there being absolutely no past. There's nothing exists. It's just right now. Right now is the only thing that exists. In right now, we're feeling whatever's moving through us and being brought to life. So again, it's so natural that we think about what's moving through us and being brought to life in relation to who we are and what happened, what kind of person we are and where we live and what our life looks like and what happened in the past or whatever. But again, we're leaving all that aside. So you are completely clueless. You just new on earth. You're just an alien walking around on this planet saying, hey, I've never been here before and I'm just feeling thought moving through me. And it's moving and it's changing in every single moment. And, we don't know anything. We can't relate it to anything else. So it's just what is. It's just what's there. See, like so hard to describe sometimes, but our entire experience is just the power of thought, bringing experience through us, bringing it to life. And then that changing, a new experience coming up, being brought to life. And then that changing, a new experience being brought to life. And then that changing, like over and over and over. And it's like a clean slate every time. If we really look at it without a memory, without a mind telling stories and tying it to the past and the future and giving it meaning and all that stuff, we're just like that. We're just fresh like that. And again, to get an example or a feel for this, look at a little baby. I mean, that they're not, as far as we can tell, they don't have the cognitive ability to sit there and say, okay, I've been alive for, 8 days now. It's Thursday. This is the time, this is what happened on day 2. And now this is happening. What's that all about? Like, they're learning some stuff. They're learning patterns and they're doing things like that even at a few days old. But you really can see that in someone who can't think about all this stuff, where it's like fresh in the moment, fresh in the moment, fresh in the moment. That's it, over and over and over again. So Nicole, when you are feeling empowered and you're seeing something, that's amazing. Your behavior's different. You're seeing things in a new way. That's great. Now that doesn't mean the next moment's going to be like that. It's awesome that this moment's like, and it's not, that sounds bad as I say it, because it's not like, oh, it's just for this moment and that's it. No, because that openness, expansiveness, where you're feeling better and things are feeling more like you're closer to home. That's you glimpsing something. That's a bunch of thought falls away and you're you again. So that has a feel to it. It feels right, it just feels comfortable and like home. So I'm not saying that's just for that moment. Like there's bigger insight that's kind of brewing and shifting, and we're seeing more and more about what's actually true and who we really are. I just mean the experience of it, like the in that moment feeling of it is in that moment. That's it. So it's like, oh, I'm empowered. Life's awesome. Okay. Now in the next moment, who knows what you're going to get? So when you talk about, I've still slipped a few times, of course you have. And I really want you to see it's not even a slip. I mean, it's like your brain's been going a certain way for a long time. Well, that's the way it's going. That's the momentum that's there, right? So of course our brain goes back there. And then of course we feel all the feelings that we used to feel when our brain went there before, and then of course our mind tells stories about, I thought it was going to be different and I thought I was over this. And so we feel all that. But that's just our experience in that very moment. So when you slip and that happens, okay, that means absolutely nothing. And then, when you feel really dark, my thoughts were really dark and I was convinced that I didn't care and it's too hard and I'm just going to give up on this. It's not a fun way to feel, but again, that's feeling in a moment. That's just like that, like the way life is being brought up for you in that moment. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean anything about the past. It doesn't mean anything about what just happened, because that's the past. It doesn't mean anything about who you are. It doesn't mean anything about what you've seen. It doesn't mean anything about the future. But man, it feels like it because our mind goes to work. We don't just like to feel stuff. This brain of ours wants to tell a story about everything, right? So it's like, oh, look, now it's not like, just like you said, my thoughts convinced me I didn't care. This is too hard and not worth it. Exactly. But the way you say it, you're onto it. Your mind convinced you of that. But that's not, that's just the way it looked. That's the way it showed up for you. And that was your experience in that moment. So when you say, my question is this just another way of feeling my thoughts, just a darker, more personal thought? All experience is essentially the same. So yes, is the answer to your question. Yes, it's another way that you're feeling, thinking. There's no other option, Nicole, no other option. So no matter what we're feeling, the greatest joy, the greatest excitement, the most crippling hopelessness and dark thoughts, it's all the exact same process. Now the content and the output, totally different, completely different. But what we're feeling is energy being brought to life through us, being broadcast by our mind as this big, vivid experience. Every piece of that is exactly the same as every other piece at that level. That's why, like in my school, in the Little School of Big Change, we talk so much about the content of our thinking and just how sticky that is. So it's not an enemy. It's great we have content to our thinking. Otherwise, it would just be this big blah, blah, blah. Like, it's awesome that we have these pictures and words and images and memories, and we have this amazing experience. But we just kind of want to see it for what it is. It's like this great, vivid, gripping, compelling show, but you don't want to jump into all that content, every storyline, and take it really seriously, So that's where we just kind of start to see, okay, content, that's all over the place. What you think and what you feel, and it's going to be different for you in every moment, and yours is going to be different from the person next to you, and that's always going to be that way. But what is consistent and universal and will be the same for you your whole life and for everyone on earth is just that, how it's working. That this energy is brought to life through us, broadcast within us. Our mind tells stories about it, and then new stuff comes up. So the more we kind of get a feel for just being in that flow of it, the easier it is. And it doesn't mean it's always easy, because again, the content, we're always going to get sucked into the content for sure. I mean, everyone would rather feel hopeful than hopeless. Everyone would rather feel happy than sad. But we don't get one end. And if we only had one end of the spectrum, we wouldn't even appreciate it, because there's nothing to compare it to. So we're going to get it all. But again, the more we look more toward what's doing the forming, like where the experience is coming from, which is why we always look there. It's before what we feel, it's that we're feeling, and how this is all coming to life within us, and who we are before all the specifics and all the pieces of content, the more freedom we feel. And then it becomes like we're just open, and you can feel totally dark and hopeless because that's what your brain is giving you in that moment. But there's a deeper part of you that keeps knowing, okay, this is just my experience in this moment. Now, when I say it like that, again, I'm kind of You know, I'm not saying it's always going to feel like, okay, no big deal. But, you know, deep down, you come to know that more and more. And you already know it, Nicole. You have a sense of it already. And that's beautiful. So you just keep looking in that direction. And that growth experience, keep moving on top of it, and that's fine. But the grounding, like what you're standing on, your understanding, that keeps rising and keeps rising. And while this keeps doing this, because it will forever, you have something solid to stand on. One last thing I'll mention from your question, and you say, and I don't think this even needs addressing, because I know that when you're kind of asking some of these questions at the end, you're telling me what your mind was saying. If your mind was saying, you know, I'm nearly convinced that I enjoy binge eating. Who am I if I'm not a binge eater? I mean, how else can I get that rush and physical fulfillment? So in part, I hear those questions and know, yeah, when your mind's busy, mine too. Like when your mind's busy, that's what it asks. So I'm not saying they all need to be, you know, you don't need like nice, tight answers to all of those in order to go on, because I'm guessing even now, you wrote this question, I don't know, a month or two ago, even now, like these probably look different to you just by your mind settling down. But I will just say it's really common that, again, people have this thing of like, well, where am I gonna like get this, like you say, this physical fulfillment and rush if it's not through binge eating? You know, we can only see what we see. So that's what your mind is associated with, feeling good and a release and a rush and all of that stuff for however long it's been, for 10 years, as you say. But that doesn't mean anything. I was just talking with a client right before this about stepping into like some changes in her business, and her mind is just saying, okay, this year should just be like an improvement on last year. Like I know last year what happened. Now this year should be a little improvement. Like her mind can only see what it knows to work with, because that's how minds work. And it's like, no. If you want to step into something new, like there's this whole universe of possibility over here. We're just all looking here. We're looking at what we know and what we recognize, and trying to make that like 10% better. It's like as big as we can think half the time. We can't see what we can't see. So me too, when I was in the habit, and other habits, I mean, especially smoking is a big one that comes up for me with this. I mean, I really thought, this sucks, because I got myself into this smoking habit. Now the rest of my life, I'm going to want cigarettes. I'm going to not be able to relax. I'm going to be antisocial because I'm not going out smoking outside with all my smoker friends. Like I was just convinced that's just the way it looked, and didn't turn out that way at all. Besides the fact that now you're kind of an outcast. If you do smoke, you can't smoke anywhere. And not even that. It's like, it gave me a feeling of relaxation because I had that thinking in place, because I associated cigarettes with that. As I quit smoking, everything rearranged in ways I could not possibly see as a smoker. And nice feelings came from within me, as they always have, and they weren't associated with a cigarette. And the same thing will happen for you with binge eating. Like your mind is associated these feelings with this behavior and this habit and the food and whatever it has. That's not where the nice feelings are coming from anyway. The nice feelings are coming from within you when your mind settles down. And that's never going anywhere. And it's all we're talking about is that your mind will learn to settle down without stuffing yourself full of food, which is nothing but an improvement on your life. Trust me, it's an awesome thing. So this is a long one, but thank you so much for this question, Nicole. I hope it's helpful for others. It gave me a good opportunity to talk about a lot of things. So I appreciate you sending it. Send your questions, any of you who have questions about anything, habits, anxiety, this paradigm that I share, anything at all, to AskAmy at thelittleschoolofbigchange.com. And I'll see you back here next Monday. Have a good week.